All right, it's 6:02 Thursday, July 23rd. This is the second meeting of the month of the Planning Commission, and I call this meeting to order. The first item is any public comments? Hearing none, I'm going to make, because we don't have it on here as an item, a public comment. Last night, the select board held their meeting to discuss the Planning Commission's update to the zoning bylaws. After some discussion and consideration of some changes that was requested by a member of the public, the commission ultimately decided to go forth with it with no changes. And so they are advancing to their public hearing, which is at the end of August. I don't remember the exact date they said.
I believe it's August 26th. Let me double check
something
that.
like that,
I have it
yeah.
on my calendar.
22nd.
Right.
22nd.
26th. Sorry.
26th at 6:30.
6:30. So if any other members of the public have an interest in coming for that, that would be the public hearing for the select board to review the bylaws, and that would be at the appropriate time to make comments if you would like to. Okay, are there any other changes to the agenda? No? Okay. Prior approval, the approval of the prior minutes from July 9th. Is there any changes to the minutes, or do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve.
Can I get a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Amen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. And now it's time for me to be quiet and turn the meeting over to Martha.
Can I share my screen, Holly?
Yes, of course.
Uh,
I think.
Maybe.
If I close out of the side panel, do we get a bigger view of your?
Probably, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to share it again on the meeting.
I did that.
I think you needed to maybe click on the window, but
I think it's right up at the X there. Yeah, there you go.
there, so yeah, if you just double click that, that should do it. Yeah, that worked, just click right there.
Right here?
Is it, which are you looking to share? Where
I'm
you have?
looking to share this.
Okay. I guess go back into where you were, and I think,
Go to window.
do window or entire
Okay.
screen, yeah, whichever, yeah, and so then, yeah. They
Share.
change it fairly frequently.
Yeah. Yay. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on the schedule because it's still kind of in a rough form. But I did want to say, so just kind of broad picture was, I'm thinking that the next meeting, I look at the natural scenic cultural resources chapter and do something similar with, like I did with the transportation chapter. And then I was thinking about flood resilience. For natural scenic and cultural resources, it'd be helpful, I think, to involve Historic Windsor. And what are your thoughts about just sending them what we have in advance and asking them if there are updates or changes that they think should be made, or try to, I mean, it might be hard for me to make changes because they've got a lot more knowledge on that section of it than I do. So that's, I mean, that was my thought, was that's a pretty short section of that chapter, like 3 pages, including one really big map. So, but I don't, I need to know who to send it to and how to get in touch with them. So, and probably
Yeah, that's a good question. I kind of feel too that we're gonna need possibly some more information because of the questions that you asked on transportation. So that the next meeting, maybe we'll try to, we could either finish that up. If we need more information on that portion or what we're doing tonight, if that works out and we feel we can move forward by just getting some questions out, and then I'm fine with saying, okay, let's jump into the other one, but so we won't really know until we're kind of at the end of the meeting. Now, I think no matter what, we need to, because it's the following meeting's 2 weeks away, we do need to figure out who we would want to be here for natural science and cultural resources. I think that's kind of a really broad subject, and there could be, I mean, are we talking about, like, should we have a Paradise Park Commission represented, or other interested parties?
That chapter, I think, includes our recreational and parks
I think it's
stuff.
all of
by the
that,
looks of
right?
it. Yeah.
So whether, I mean, I think that could be one where we probably want to, I hate to use the word testimony, but input or something from a number of different departments. Rex should be here. And we need to give enough time to schedule that.
Right.
Does it make more sense to say that would actually be the August 27th meeting, and for the flood resistant side? Yes.
Sorry, the recreational facilities and public lands are actually under municipal services, utilities, and facilities, not in the natural
Oh,
resources
okay.
section.
So that does narrow it down.
But historic preservation is in the natural and scenic and cultural.
Yes, we have a representative, that kind of thing, sitting at the table.
For what, Historic Windsor Inc.?
Yeah.
Different organization, but yes, I can put you in touch with, it's Judy Hayward, that's who you would want to get in contact with, yes.
For the
I
historic,
mean, if you get,
for historic stuff.
She's Preservation, the Historical Society, if you would want them to be
Right,
here,
right.
just two different organizations, but yes, I'm well connected to both if you
Right.
would like to have both or
I
just
think
one.
we'd have both,
Okay, yeah,
shouldn't we?
yeah, sure, yeah.
I mean, I was thinking of sending it to them in advance and saying, what do you
Oh,
think?
yeah,
And
I
then
mean-
if they want to also come, that, you know. that's-
Absolutely, I'm just,
that's great.
as long as them making it here in 2 weeks from now, then, and they don't have any other plans, I think we should, if we can, let's move forward with it.
Right.
They could also just send something in writing if they can't make the meeting.
Right,
Yeah, and, you know, it doesn't have to be one and done. I mean, I had a lot of questions on the transportation.
right.
And so also with that, you know, if I should reach out to the highway foreman or to Trevor or someone like that to get some more information that,
Yeah, because I think on the highway department, I think it'd be great to have Ernie come in and discuss, you know, his experience, because that's his deal. He's the guy on the ground, I think, are the people that we want to hear from. So.
I could send it to him in advance, what I've
Him
done.
and Trevor's the boss, but yeah, send it, Trevor's not gonna have a lot of historical stuff to be able to help us because he just came here. So I think Ernie would be a great addition for that. As long as we're not trying to close out the transportation, we're just saying we're gonna get where we're gonna get, and then next time we'll start on the natural, but continue with transportation depending on what we need. I'm fine with that.
Right, that's kind of my thinking, kind of a first pass. And then,
Yeah,
I mean, hopefully there'd be time to make changes and review it a second time, either at the next meeting or the one after that. And then
let's try that. Let's see how it works.
kind of, yeah, it'd
If
be
we
just
feel we're
kind of
getting
a,
too much too fast and getting overwhelmed, and we can
right, then,
figure it out at that point. If it works, I think it's great because
right.
I like moving forward.
Yeah, we do have a tight schedule, a lot to try to get.
I know. And everybody says, oh, it's not due until December next year. It's like, yeah, you don't get it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. So anyway, yeah, that's,
I think it's a good plan. Everybody else on board?
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
For the first few months, I think someone to talk to about transportation, historic. I mean, if there is someone with flood resilience, great, but if not, I was gonna ask you if you mind doing a little homework. West Windsor has a pretty comprehensive flood resilience chapter.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it is specific to West Windsor, but a lot of it is more applicable broadly. So I kind of wanted to get your opinion on whether you like what you're seeing that's broadly applicable. And then if you do, I can work on that one for the following week. But
I have a suggestion. Why not send us, if you could easily access that document, send us that portion of it and send it to Holly also, because I think Holly should have
oh
be
yeah,
able to do a lot of that background research to fill in the information for that.
right.
Because that's poor technical side of things, than visionary side of things. And so I don't know how much technical expertise we could bring to it.
Right.
But if they've done the groundwork that can apply to some of the issues that we're having, because it's similar issues, I'm sure,
Right.
for certain areas. I think the only area that's going to be different geographically is along the river itself. And I understood the state was going to be taking over a lot of that control, and I don't know when that happens or what part of the town plan would really have to deal with on that, because if they truly already have that in the works, how much of that can we really, influence?
Yeah.
Is the most, maybe just noting that there's things we'd like to see there, but the state would be the one in charge.
Right. I mean, you'll still have flood hazard review, but they're taking over jurisdiction over river corridors starting January 1st, 2028. So right after you finish this document, they're going to be taking over. So we'll keep that in mind as we're updating.
Probably worth referencing as we get to the end of it, if we know that it's actually going to happen.
Can you remind us what river corridors is? Because I don't do too much flood. It's like 100-foot buffer around river banks?
It varies. They look at where the river might migrate over time.
Okay.
And it's different, a little different sometimes than the flood zone, because the flood is just when the water rises, where does it go?
Right. Are those mapped yet, river corridors?
Whether they're gonna make changes to them or not between now and then, I don't know.
Are they going to be mapped at all, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, they're mapped now.
Okay.
I
They're
just,
like draft.
I mean, there's existing on the A&R,
Okay.
Natural Resources Atlas, but whether they're gonna make changes to them or not, that's what I don't know.
Mhm.
But isn't it that regardless of a property or a parcel is within the floodplain or not, but it's within the river corridors, they will be included under the restrictions of any development? As far as I know, it was around 40 foot. Did they increase that? I heard, Harry, did you say 100?
Well, I guess that's not what it is, but
That would be quite a bit. That'd be 200 feet from side to side with the 50.
based on what Martha says, I don't think it's
Yeah.
actually like a fixed number, right?
And no, they made some big changes after the Ludlow deal. So
Mm.
I don't really know what they came up with. I thought they kind of, I heard they were going to do like classifications inside the corridor of areas that are more susceptible to a broader space being flooded rather than a general dimension for the entire area. I don't know if that came out or not. I just read that on one of the articles that I read on the Vermont stuff from Vermont Digger, but I don't know whether that actually happened. It was a suggestion.
I think the discussion was that they will have a certain distance from the rivers, and regardless if the property is within the floodplain or not, it's not allowed to have any development within that distance. It's also that, I forgot, but they
This one I
consider
knew
more the erosion more than the flooding itself. So they
Right.
will look into, the long-term impact.
So the idea is like it covers tell me if I'm wrong, but like it covers like a jurisdictional gap where, I mean, these could probably do overlap with floodplains in a lot of places, but in places that where, say there's a house on like a high bluff above a river where, like Hallie's saying, there's an erosion risk, but it's not actually at risk of like inundation flooding.
Right,
It's meant to cover that
Right.
type of thing.
right, exactly, yeah.
If you like, I can share what we updated at Rockingham, because we worked on that when I was working with them with the Wyndham Regional Commission, and they updated their flood regulations based on that act. that they didn't want the state to take over that, and they chose to adjust their regulations themselves. However, Wyndham Regional Commission, they used the state outline. They just rephrased it to fit Rockingham. So I can share that with you. It's already on their website.
Sure.
Sounds good. Let's make a plan for you to get that information to us shortly or during or shortly after the August 12th meeting, because we'll have that on the 27th, and I'd rather have it right in front of us, keep it fresh before we go into the meeting. And we can ask some questions on that, because that's kind of down the line. But
I'm not sure if they adopted it or not, because when
Yeah.
I left, they were still working on it. So,
well, hopefully in a month, we'll have a little bit more specifics to kind of understand what we really need to do. So,
actually, this is the core of my research. So I'm using the Act 121, the river corridors, and the Act 181 into my research. So I can share that. I'm also visualizing that on my platform. So I can also share some of the maps that I have. And we'll see. We'll take it from there.
It's interesting that, at least on A&R Atlas, the Connecticut does not have a river corridor. It's only the brooks and the smaller rivers. I don't know if that's intentional or they're just drafting it.
because that's considered floodplain, a different type of floodplain, I think.
Well, the floodplain is a different thing entirely. Like I can turn on the floodplain layer and show you.
Yeah.
It'll overlap with a lot of the river corridor.
Well, anyway, I was just trying to,
We'll get to, I don't want to sidetrack us too much off of tonight's
Yeah.
topic, transportation.
just look at the next couple of months and talk about who I need to.
I think we should try to do this schedule, and if we have problems working our way through it, we'll deal with it when they come up.
So Martha, we don't have a standalone flood resilience chapter right now. Are we required to have a standalone one?
You do have one. It's about 2.5 pages. It's at the end. I think it's not in the table of contents.
It's definitely not.
Um,
I'm wondering why.
Don't ask.
It's not anywhere on here.
Well,
But I'll send you one to look at, and, you can let me know what you think, and I'll send it to Howie as well. And,
Oh yeah, no, it's not in the table of contents, but it's the very last
It's at
few
page
pages, or
9.
3 pages. Why is that not in the table of contents?
so, and the other thing, I also sent you a Excel spreadsheet, just kind of showing a possible reorganization. I don't think we need to go over it necessarily, but I did want to go through that and identify stakeholders and partners, sooner, so that as we come to them, I'll know who to reach out to, and we'll know who to invite to meetings and things like that. So if you have any feedback going through that spreadsheet, it'd be good to talk to this person or that person, Paradise Park.
I think the only adjustment that I would make to it is possibly readjust the order of things for us to where they're going to follow the order of what we're actually doing, so we can kind of look at where we're pacing down it. But other than that, I think it's fine. You know what I mean? 'Cause right now it says it's following introduction, land use, transportation, municipal services, and we're actually not approaching it that way. We're doing transportation, just so.
Why don't I send you a separate timeline that's simpler than what I was sharing online? That's just
Yeah.
like July, transportation, August, natural resources, and so on. Would that be in the, rather, because this is what I'm suggesting for the layout of the document.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I didn't understand what this, that's fine. Yeah.
But I'll send you a separate, just one pager
Okay,
which month we're working on which things and if you.
yeah, just take the sheet, well, we have the sheet you have with that. I don't know if we.
Yeah,
Duplicate that. I think all we really need is there's maybe some prompts between meetings, because everybody life goes on and you get busy and you get thinking about things and
Right.
possibly sending out, reminding everybody for what we need for the next meeting. Please contact people, please do whatever it is that we're supposed to do. So it keeps it top of mind, would probably be more helpful. So when we get into the meetings, we're here to give you the response that you need for us to progress.
Right. Yep.
And also have witnesses or whoever is going to be coming to testify or speak to us, depending on how we want to.
Right. Yeah.
We call it testify, nobody shows up. If you'd like to come and yell at us, we'll fill the room. So.
Guests. Guests we'd like to invite. Okay, so.
On invitees, would it be appropriate to invite Trevor? Because.
Oh, I already have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had a commitment for tonight that he couldn't make it. And I'm keeping him up to date with everything, all the materials that we have in front of us, I sent to him. And I talked to him a little bit today. But, he's got some other financial and other issues that have to be gone through and addressed with the select board because it's a timeline thing. So the tax bills to get out and they're focusing on that now. But he said he's going to be attending some of the meetings and certainly it's expected, since he is actually the director of highway and public works and other stuff, it's expected that he would come and help talk to us about that. So, and I'm reaching out to the other department heads like Mike with Water and Sewer and Ernie and that kind of thing. I would try to get a hold of him too and have them come to me. I talked to Mike and he said he'd be happy to come and talk to us. I'll find out if we can come up next week. Well, actually, we don't get to the water and sewer stuff till much later down the line. I should try to get a hold of Ernie so that he can come and talk to us about highway department, answer some questions that we don't get answered tonight if we have anything extra. Or if we're happy with it.
What's the person's name?
I don't know Ernie's last name. But
Yeah, I don't either.
I have a remote brain that will find that out very quickly. So let's,
Transportation.
I did send an email with some of the answers to some of the comments that you had here. And also, I don't know if everybody got it, but I did send the part of the budget that had to do with the capital plan. And let's just jump in.
So for the purpose, I was just trying to tighten up the language a little bit. And you answered my question about the capital budget. So thank you for that. And I'll look that over a little more carefully and incorporate that to the extent that it makes sense. The question about voter approved bond funding, maybe I'm the only one who's confused by that, but it wasn't clear to me whether there's a pot of voter approved bond funding sitting somewhere that you can draw from, or if you need to do work on the road or something, then you will go to the voters and get.
Well, unfortunately, the way things have been done is that whenever large projects come up, we get estimates and then put together a cost for it. And then normally what happens is we put it on the town meeting to approve issuing a bond for it, which is part of the process. From what I understood, was it allowed us to have a chance to try to get some alternative funding, like grants and that kind of stuff, make grant applications and try to get other things to offset. And then we would go for the bond for whatever we weren't able to achieve.
demonstrate local match, basically.
Yeah, but the problem is that we know that for the next, going forward in the future, the likelihood of these kind of bonds and this kind of stuff coming down the pipe is shrinking quite a bit. The federal monies aren't going to be there like they used to be. We also had a sizable amount of money that came from FEMA, and we had money that came from the COVID thing.
ARPA.
Yeah. And so we kind of have used up those funds. As far as I know, they've been used up. And that was what we did. The last paving project that we had was fixing Central Lab. And that was part of a bond request in the last town meeting. So that was what the way it worked. I think the suggestion, and I think it is a really good one, is about, I don't know, we can actually establish a paving fund, because right now we're having a hard time just keeping up with the capital funds and everything else. Because things are going up quite a bit this year because everything is catching up. A lot of stuff that we're able to offset through other things, those possibilities have gone away for offset. So the town of Windsor is going to get hit hard. To try to then on top of its capital fund, do a paving fund is going to be difficult. But what I think that you brought up here that's important is there is no realistic projection. We know two things that are facts. One, we got 22 miles of road paved, approximately. Two, asphalt lasts a certain period of time and needs to be repaved. That's a very simple thing to figure out to say, if we pave State Street and we know that in 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is the length of time with the traffic that's on it, that it's going to go before it's going to need to, the potholes are the only thing that are left, and that we have to do it again. We know that. We should know that. And I think it's important that the town plan defines that stuff should be noted, kept, and then planned for. So that the expectations of what the paving costs are going to be coming, they're never going to go away. They're always going to cycle. And the areas that need to get repaved are going to be determined by the traffic. My street, Pine Street, was done about, I guess that project was done four years ago or so now, where, everything was ripped out. Sidewalks, just all gone. And came back and put in new curbs, new sidewalk, new paving, new everything, because there was grants. Also repaired the water lines and everything else. It's like it's brand new. There's not a lot of traffic on Pine Street. It still looks pretty brand new. That's going to last a long time. Where State Street was done just about the same time, and you can already see the State Street is coming apart again. And that's because we never had the money to do these things right. Which means coming in and putting another 3 inches of asphalt, or digging down 3 inches of asphalt and then putting a new layer on it, still has not gotten down below the frost line to get it all gravel, where you don't have the frost heaves and everything that destroy the roads.
And that then full depth.
Correct. And most of the roads in town have never had that done. And that's why the asphalt doesn't last that long. So I believe this is one area that really needs to be looked at and have some sort of something in the town plan that says that we need to formulate a paving plan, as you put it. I think that's a great idea. If we don't have it, and we just wait until something's really bad, and then we hurriedly keep passing the damn thing until we can get a bond or a grant or whatever we can, and that's not the best way to do this.
I think the answer to your comment is no, there's no untapped funding. And I also think that the statement is ambiguous, but so
Yeah.
I would be in favor of retooling that statement, even if there was bond
For sure.
access.
Right.
At the very bottom of the capital budget, you can see the last several bonds that we've done for paving. So it looks like we're just doing them as needed, basically. So I don't think there's a standing fund.
Right.
The only bond that I'm aware we've not tapped has nothing to do with this. It was a whole blight thing from many years ago where we never have drawn on it. It has nothing to do with this. But that's a bond that was approved years ago for something we're not using.
And
I think the state has funding to improve the streets and pedestrian areas. I had this discussion with Trevor, and we're planning to apply for this grant. However, it's not open yet, but it's on the plan. We need to improve the walkability within the downtown area and other areas, including bicycle tracks and pedestrian areas, and like to bring it somehow into complete street.
Yeah, so something I'm seeing or not seeing on the capital budget also is that we don't catalog the paved roads individually or the roads individually
No, we
and
don't.
budget for maintenance or improvement. And we also don't include facilities on here.
Right.
Like I think there's an undifferentiated kind of facilities maintenance fund. So yeah, highway and municipal
It's a
building
general
maintenance.
slush, right.
Yeah, so not that that's super easy to predict for facilities. It's easier to predict for roads, I would say. But the other thing I would note is that, yes, we have 22 miles of paved roads. A large proportion of that are state highways that we don't have to worry about as a town.
No, the 22 miles, I believe, doesn't include any of that.
Is-
Hallie, is that correct? Or is it,
According to this, it does, but
is the 20, I don't think the 22 miles included is that all roads inside the boundaries of Windsor, or is that just the roads that are non-state and Windsor roads?
oh no, it does. Yeah, so this looks like it doesn't include that, but then
Sure.
farther down the highway plan, it says paving Route 5 is needed, but it's not our problem.
It's not our financial problem. And there's also talking about, and I mentioned it in the email that I sent, the S's that are up by the golf course, for example.
Mhm.
That's a state issue, but it's something that the town plan should address in the sense that saying that this is not an issue that's good for safety or anything else. So it should be part of, over the next course of time, that we try to lobby legislators or whatever the heck we got to do, that they need to do something there. There's been some bad accidents where they actually hit the power lines and taken the power poles out. It's just, it's a bad road design, and it's always been problematic. But their concern that came under is bike path, which I thought was interesting. But if that's the approach that we need to get it done, I'm for that. But
And I was just advocating for some more specificity about why that road is problematic, noting that it is on the state's priority bicycling route map. So, and then,
if it's on the state's priority map, then tell them,
Yeah.
then hopefully we're in line for some, then to consider to
Yeah.
do something.
I mean, Route 44 was too, and they didn't widen that. So,
How'd that work out?
you know, and just keeping the recommendations to something that Windsor can do. Like, I think the recommendation now says narrow the road, but you don't have any control over that. But as you say,
That idea.
yeah, you can lobby the state, and, you know, certainly that's always a good idea, whether it's productive or not in the long run. But at least keeping it on their radar is not a bad idea.
But I think mentioning in the town plan that the town needs to develop an anticipatory paving of cycling of each road so that it's, you know, it's not a surprise anymore.
Right.
And also, if we have that, it'd be nice to actually have some sort of a supplemental, but I don't know if we can have it by the time we're done with this. Have a chart of when the anticipated areas of roads need to be done, and have it as part of an appendix document saying, here's all the town roads. This is the last time they were paved. This is how long we expect them to last. This is when they're going to need it again, like an Excel spreadsheet kind of thing for the public to say, this is what's coming down the line. So that every time we go to annual meetings, I always hear people grumbling, well, wait, why are we just paved? Why are we doing it again? Well, we paved your road. There's more roads. So, and I think it would just be a good thing. Now, obviously I don't know who would be the one to develop that. Holly, Trevor, Highway, I don't know who comes up with that.
I did one for Cavendish.
Oh, you.
Not saying, but I mean, they got a municipal planning grant for it. So as a separate.
But that's something that I think is the kind of thing to have. That's the kind of things we need, specificity like that And this document for looking in the future would be good to have if we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, if we have that level of detail, it'd be great. I mean, that is basically what a robust capital budget is for, is to catalog all these things individually and schedule their replacement. But just for the purposes of this town plan, which is an 8-year plan,
Right.
I think we should just call out the highest priority segments that need to be done in the next 8 years. I don't think we need.
You want to develop a plan?
But
Or
that's what I think. I wanted to call out that we're gonna develop a plan.
Or
The
both.
plan needs to be developed in both. I mean, right now, there is references, I don't know if I'm stepping on your direction, but there are some other questions I can go into that I've got the answers.
While reviewing this chapter, did you see anywhere a mention of the complete streets as a term? I mean, we need to use these terms because it's used by the state and it's the way how they evaluate our,
It was used,
a lot of grants. I don't
Yeah.
think it's mentioned.
I think it is mentioned.
It's mentioned separately, like the
Uh-uh.
pedestrians, the cyclists areas, the roads, highways. I think we should mention that at least in the purpose at the beginning. We give the broader concept and then we start to list exactly the forms of the roads and the mobility forms we have. And the intention is to include all.
Yes. If it's not mentioned, I will go through again and find somewhere where it's the best place to mention it. So we talked about paving funds, putting a little more specificity in there just to give a context to why you may need a separate plan, long-term plan for paving. Yeah, so this is where, so I know Route 5 was done. And Cliff, you mentioned some work on some of the bridges.
Yeah, the bridges, last night's meeting, actually, of the select board, they approved the engineering contract for the Johnson Bridge. So that is in the works. Currently, the bridge on Route 5 by the Precision Museum was considered kind of like a historic landmark kind of thing. And it was also, after a public hearing, the public was adamant saying, we don't just want an ugly concrete barrier bridge going up there, because this is a fairly ornate bridge as an introduction to coming into Windsor. And so it's felt that we keep that kind of character. So there is an engineering and design firm that's working on doing a modern base to the bridge, but yet try to maintain something, won't be anything like what's there now, but at least something that's more decorative. And I don't remember when that meeting was. I swear it's got to be close to a year ago, it seems like, but things move slow, but they're supposedly working on that. And that is a state-owned bridge, because I believe the state highway starts right at the traffic light. So that is their deal, but they
Dodged the bullet on that one
yeah.
financially. It's not
No.
going to be a cheap project.
No, fortunately, it's, I'm pretty sure that's not us. I know there was concerns from the Precision Museum as to, dimensions of the bridge and that kind of stuff, because their driveway is right there. So there are a number of factors that kind of slowed that down a bit. I did ask Trevor, although I didn't have time, I waited too long to send this email, but I knew he was very busy with other things that are happening in town that he had to have prepared for the last night's meeting. So I don't have any information on Brook Road right now. Holly, do you have any information on what happened on Brook Road, Bridge 24?
No.
So I really have actually no idea, but Trevor did say he would look into it and get back to me and let us know. And that's the bridge report.
So is the one that's near the Precision Museum, that's Bridge 55 or?
That is Bridge 55, yes.
Also, as I'm going through here, just as an aside, sometimes things pop into my head, oh, that'd be a nice picture. So if that, wouldn't hurt to kind of start making a mental list or even an actual list of, be nice to get a photo of that bridge before it's replaced for sure. And like I was reading about micro moo and I was like, that's a great photo op, having a picture of that micro moo. So just something to keep in mind. It's another possible opportunity for engagement with the town as well, to invite them to take photos to submit. I mean, this is their town plan too, and if they can contribute to it in a concrete way, I mean,
Sure, no, I think that's a great idea.
a win-win.
Yeah.
So how has the bridge been condemned?
It's not condemned. It's condemned. I would say, I always avoid and go across the covered bridge to Route 12, but it might fall any day now.
Sorry, which bridge is this?
It's the one right by the Precision
Oh,
Museum.
we're talking about that still?
Yeah, so.
Definitely not condemned. I just drove on it yesterday.
But actually, if you looked underneath it, it would scare the hell out of you because they showed us the pictures of.
There's a lot of,
crumbling
if you look at the hand,
concrete.
just look at the handrails, the concrete is
Yeah, well, the
falling
main
really
support,
badly.
main supports kind of look like that underneath it.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating bridge because it's actually an arch bridge underneath.
First will come weight restrictions, then will come
Yeah,
potentially condemning it,
but
but they're not
they're at
gonna.
a point
hold it to
now,
that point.
but they know the clock is ticking and
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a priority. So I don't, but I don't know where the state's at on that. So, and I do know that the Brick Road Bridge really needs some serious looking into, and so I'm glad they got an engineering study gone through. The problem with that was they went to a couple of engineers and they bid out at $130,000 to do the engineering study.
That's, bridges are millions of dollars.
Yeah, the problem is they got somebody who was more realistic and came back at they had a $30-something thousand budget and they came in like 4,000 under it. It's a very small just bridge, like a culvert covering almost. It's not a major bridge. It's just in
It's like one lane.
a location that has issues dealing with the water going through it. And it just needs to be engineered to truly handle the flow. And that one is not. So, the good news is that they got a reasonable bid and they're moving forward. So that should get taken care of.
I mean, the conversation that no one wants to have when it comes to roads and climate resilience is, do we need to have this bridge?
There you do.
I'm not gonna go there, but,
There's some you can't argue that.
yeah.
Because Mary walks by it every single day. And
So that's
more
why
the
you need
reason
it.
because I'd have to hear about it. If it's not done, we have to do it.
Yeah, it's really just a shortcut, but all the houses on both sides are accessible by other roads. You don't actually need a crossing there. Just saying.
This is on County Road.
Hmm?
Well, you
Is
could
this what we're
say,
talking about? This is the bridge, yeah?
yeah.
You can get there from County Road.
Okay, well, you call and tell them that.
No, I'm not, just saying.
Okay,
We got a lot of bridges and we're not gonna be able to afford to replace all of them. And this is a conversation all around the state, you know?
that's true.
Kind of a backwards way of looking at it, though. It would increase one of the recommendations is to encourage the use of the Amtrak trains and that might
Yeah, we'll get to
put
that
people
one.
on the train instead of roads.
I don't know how you do that.
I don't know that changes this bridge's fate, but
I'll try to get some of the details of like recently completed things and things.
Yeah, I know.
High on the list of needs from
Like,
Trevor or.
Unfortunately, there's,
Yeah.
well, there are some things we can say that were done, but,
I moved the drainage section out of the facilities chapter. It just felt like it made more sense here, so. And I updated it with a little more detail about your municipal road general permit requirements and where you are with meeting those requirements.
one thing I noted in the email, I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at the email that I sent out, but under the discussions that happened to do with bike paths, walking paths and that kind of stuff that are in there, I find that, and I think we need to make sure in other areas of the document that we're careful when we're discussing these things, that we use terms that match up kind of to our actual town maps. Because there were, and in here, I find it refers to going to Artisan Park, to downtown, for example, is. And then the next thing it talks about the bike path going to the industrial park. Well, the assumption in doing things that way is that the people who see that know what we're talking about.
Right.
And pretty much everybody understands the industrial park because even on the town zoning maps, the industrial park is the industrial park right on the maps. But there is no Artisan Park because the Artisan Park is inside the industrial park. So I think we need to, just for document cleanup's sake, that should be, I don't mind mentioning Artisan Park as long as we also say at least someplace notated before we go down and mention it more, that it's located in the industrial park for people that just simply may not be aware of that.
Right, yeah.
Can I go back to the drainage section quickly? So when you say you moved it and updated it, when it says, mentions the road erosion inventory and 318 out of 590 are out of compliance, but substantial progress has been made since then. Is that new text did you update that?
Oh, yeah, that was not in there before. Yeah, because I moved the whole thing, you can't see what's new and what was already.
Yeah, so I was just curious if that number was like up to date.
So the initial REI, which was probably like in 2018 or something, it was 318 out of 590.
Mhm.
If I can get the date that yours was done, I can put an actual date in there for instead of initial or, but currently there's 38 that still need to be improved. So it's substantial progress that's been made there. So I think it's worth noting.
I would think, Holly, would you have be able to give the dates for the things that we were looking for, various dates throughout that whole section? I noticed you noted that there were dates missing in places, or at least get the year.
Well, yeah,
I don't
or,
know if Holly would have that or who would have that.
yeah,
Look into that, but I'm not sure we have it, but yeah. I'll look into that.
and I may be able to get, like, for the road erosion inventory, I know Mark helped most towns with those, so
Yeah,
I may be able to get that also.
yeah, I know Mark did help us with a lot of that stuff, so that should be there. Because Tom was on Mark, so I think he still is, actually.
I'd be interested for this section, both taking a deeper dive into the road erosion inventory and also hearing from Ernie probably about if there are, like big priority projects for stormwater and road erosion, like really expensive, like box culvert projects or like particularly at-risk sections of road and stuff like that should be priorities in the next 8 years. It's a lot to digest, so, and I've not looked at it before right now, but it's all on A&R Atlas. You can really go down the rabbit hole if you want, Cliff, but purple is bad. You don't want
Send me a link to
purple.
that, and I'll see you guys in a couple of months.
Yeah, I can email this to everyone.
I have it someplace, but I keep losing it. I'm gonna finally meander my way back to it, but, yeah, I agree. I think it's really important we get the people who are actually doing the work and dealing with these things every single day to talk to us, because they're the ones who are gonna give us the real story of what they're dealing with, We don't want it sugar-coated. We want to know what the hell's going on. So, yeah, I will try to reach out to Ernie. Right now. See if he can come to our next meeting. But what I'd like to do is, Martha, if we can, I reach out to him. What I would like to do is have a chance to send him, Holly, whoever wants to do it, and some short list of questions that he can anticipate that we're going to be asking about, because he may be able to bring some documentation and other materials with him.
Right.
so that we can get some specific answers and focus the conversation for him.
Yep.
Let's see. Tomorrow's Friday. Look at it.
Martha, this section that you're viewing, bicycling and pedestrian facilities, you highlighted over the past decade. Do you know how many grants actually? Because I know the town used to work with Mark when applying to grants. Did we actually get any real funding to improve this that we can list here and what we're aiming to have in the future?
Yeah, I highlighted it mainly because over the past decade, when this was written, was the prior decade. So just as a reminder that, you know, I should probably substitute from 2015 to 2020 or whatever the actual time period was. And yeah, who would have a list of grants that you think to do that? Would Trevor maybe have that?
I can check our records, but the thing is that this is a plan for the next 8 years. So
Right.
should we focus on what we're planning to do and just
Right.
get like,
Right. So we can eliminate, I mean, we don't have to include that. If we want to just be forward looking, I think if the sidewalk improvement plan is still up to date and it's still being implemented, that'd be good to know. And then we should reference it, or if it needs to be updated, that would be good to know as well.
yeah. And my advice, you don't need to fit into exactly what we have, the same orders. The idea was to have a new powerful document. We don't have to fit into what we had in the past, unless we decide that the changes are minor, we keeping what we have and we update the text.
Right, yeah. So I guess my question is there still a plan that is still being implemented? And
I mean, the committee will not mind actually new approach of how to organize it or any suggestions that you might bring.
Sorry, was that a response to Martha? Didn't quite get that, Haley.
I mean, the whole idea was from the beginning not to keep what we had before, to come up with a new modern town plan, not just to edit the text. It's a lot of work that you've done. This is amazing. We can actually continue and follow the same approach you're following, but if you think there is a better approach, we're open to any suggestions.
right, yeah. Well, I think some reorganization would be helpful. I mean, and I liked your idea from the document that you sent me of looking at existing facilities, then looking at issues. And I think the big issues with transportation are, as you suggested, mobility challenges. If there are some, and we could put some questions in the survey, maybe to get a sense of that. And with transportation, I mean, maintenance is just always a big challenge as well. So I think maintenance and mobility are two of the big challenges for this chapter. And, we can reorganize it to reflect that, and then look at, well, this is what we want to do about these maintenance and mobility challenges. So this is just a first pass.
Yeah, it's very good actually. If the committee decides to move on with this style, it's really a good work. But I remember the idea was to provide more visualizations, less text, and to make a less dense document. It's not like a bylaw. This is a town plan. Would like to provide more photos, more maps, explain every section if we can visualize it in a way or another. And I'm happy to assist if you have any idea. I can.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I threw out the possibility of maybe having having the town submit photos of things that would be relevant to show in the town plan. I'm looking more at content right now. I mean, narrative content rather than the
I know.
visual. Because I think, my colleague Kellen is going to be better at, she's going to do the data and the mapping and probably suggest some reorganization design type things that would make it more visually appealing and easier to read. I am trying to tighten up the language to make that a little clearer and easier to read where I can and where I think it doesn't need to be changed a whole lot.
I think our discussion we had in the past about what we wanted to do with the town plan is a breakout dialogue that needs to really become real specific. We were kind of looking at trying to put that in more of an appendix area as a supplement to breaking details out a lot more that way, so that the actual reading of the concept, the entire plan wasn't going to be 70, 80 or 100 and something pages like some of them that we've seen. We wanted to really get the gist of where we are, where we're going in a very short and a lot of visual, but summarized sections. For instance, coming back to the sidewalk portion, I think it's good that we do the information of that. That to me would be an appendix issue if we found more with it, because most of the sidewalks, it's my understanding that plan has been done for most part. There's a little bit that's a problematic areas, but handicapped, all the curbs are gone, and everything is appropriately being adjusted that way, that when this town plan was written, it was a serious problem. Some curb heights were very high, just trying to walk down the sidewalk. If you're in a wheelchair, forget it. We don't invite wheelchair people, it seemed like. It was like there was nothing. You look in front of the firehouse where they made the cutout there to where you can, the ramp goes up and down and people can go from street level straight in and ramp up. None of that was there. Every corner, every curve, every intersection that I'm aware of already has all of the curbs cut out and they're now all ramped.
The sidewalks are in remarkably good shape, except in a few places.
In a few places. State Street still has an issue on one side of the street. The other side of the street was done. It's all new. But what happened with the other side of the street, I'm not sure. I heard that there is concerns that we're going to need to pull it up for replacing water lines along there. It was one of the things that had come up that I had heard about, that said there's no reason to put in a new sidewalk. We're going to come back and we're going to dig them all up. I don't know if that's still the case, but we can find out. That was part of the survey, trying to look for galvanized and old kind of pipes, and that's still an ongoing thing. That is a project for the plan, for the town to replace those water lines. Unfortunately, it's the homeowner that has to pay for that. So, but anyway, that was my understanding.
The service lines from the main to the house. Okay.
Right. Yeah. If they have the old ones, it was supposedly. We did a survey to apply for some funding assistance, so that people who own their homes that they couldn't afford it, that there would be a way for them to access some money to be able to do it. I don't know where that process went. I know that postcards were sent out and everybody was encouraged to fill out whether they had their water lines done and what the water lines were coming into their homes. But I don't want to get off into that. But that was, I think, was the reason why that sidewalk particularly wasn't done. I could be wrong. Because it's odd. They did one side of the street, not the other. But they did do all the intersections of that sidewalk down by Pine Street and everywhere else. That sidewalk has been completed. It's between Pine Street and the Scutney Street is really where the issue that's left. But there are no curb cuts there. So It's a straight run. Where the curb cuts were, all have been ramped. So I guess the question is, and what we never get out of this is this stuff's been done, but okay, where did we land? And I think that would be interesting to find out, to make it. And the only thing I think we need to note in here is that previously we were concerned about sidewalks and we've taken care of that. And here's the report. They've all been done and there's a little left. And then if you want details, click to go to the appendix, get the details and see the specific everything. I think that's what we talked about, right? Is we wanted to really keep the main gist of the town plan visual and summarize as much as possible in the plan itself, and then supply supporting documents.
Transportation's a great place to have maps
Yeah,
in that chapter.
it is.
I have a few random notes, but also just to kind of comment on Hallie's question about organization. I do like Hallie's suggestion from that markup you did of the plan forever ago at this point of reorganizing things thematically. I don't think we have to do that anytime soon. I think what Martha's saying about fixing the content first takes priority because we have to hit all of these different beats for regional approval and state approval and all that. So I think we get the content locked in and then we can reorganize however we see fit towards the end of the process or at least later in the process. I mean, that makes sense to me to actually have the content be effective first and then we can reorganize things. But random transportation notes, now that we're talking about sidewalks, we have a great sidewalk network. It's in very good condition generally. Two things that we can think about, that being said, for the future is one, expanding the sidewalk network to where there are places without sidewalks. I know one route that I take often is down to like the Armory ball fields and stuff. When you get to Enright Ave, the sidewalk on Ascutney Street ends. And you have to kind of cut through the neighborhoods back there to get back to Ascutney Street and the sidewalk. The right of way is pretty narrow on that section of Ascutney Street, so I see why they did that. But there's also no sidewalk on the north side of Ascutney Street there and no crosswalk. And then there's this big neighborhood with Sherwin Ave and Kinnery Street and stuff like that. There's no sidewalks up there at all. So expanding the sidewalks could potentially be on, our future plans, but also widening sidewalks in places. Conditions are pretty good, but as we said, but particularly along Ascutney Street, like near the school and stuff like that, it could be wider for sure. It's definitely not up to modern standards, especially considering how well used it is, and because it's right next to a school. On kids that have to step off the curb and stuff like that.
Can I ask a quick question regarding sidewalks?
Sure.
I go down Union Street and there's all these plants
Mhm.
that cover like half the sidewalk, or can only the property owner trim those boughs?
No, if they're hanging in the town right away, the
town has the
road
right
crew
to-
should be able to do it.
So who does citizens notify?
You'd probably email Trevor or the road foreman about it. They might be able to take care of it. Because they can do roadside mowing, they can cut down trees that are in the town right of way and stuff.
And that's happening in a number of places. There's a lot of overhanging trees. I know that the same route you're talking about, when you come back onto the sidewalk that brings you to the ball fields there, at one point in time, there was a lot of brush and everything hanging over, and Mike just went down and did it himself. So, no problem.
Yeah.
Other line.
So yeah, I mean, that as a short-term thing, you can definitely reach out to them about that and see if they're able to do that.
But yeah, I mean, that actually is an interesting question to be noted someplace to find out, who really should be focused at it. That's something that, yet another thing that Ernie should be trying to deal with. We don't have a large highway department. And I know we have a mowing and trimming issue all over town. And we have people who do it voluntarily, and honestly, that seems to be where most of it's getting done.
Yeah, I mean, we're only half the size of a normal town geographically, right?
Right.
And a large portion of our major roads are state roads.
Yes.
So V-Trans handles the maintenance and plowing for those, so it's tricky. But before I forget, just one other random note is retaining walls. Something I think about going around town is all these retaining walls, and I have no idea whose responsibility they are, if they're the property owner or the town. And some of them are not in amazing shape, especially as you go down 44 to where, like past the ball fields to where the speed increases. There's some pretty,
That's all state there. That's Route 44.
okay.
It changes over
Union
somewhere
Street's
right
got some
about
pretty big-
Enright Ave.
Union Street's some pretty big retaining walls too, that some of which are not in amazing shape. And I have no idea who's responsible for that.
That's probably That's actually a good question, but I think that would be the town. But I don't know that. I don't,
And are we planning for their maintenance? Those have probably never been rebuilt, right? You know?
we'll do a bond issue after one falls over.
I don't know.
That's all good point.
This is the thing about plans though, you know, we plan for it and
Yes.
then there's no action attached to this unless we cajole the select board to do it. So but as long as we're thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, Enright Avenue is a good point, because I drove in that way today and
Oh, you did?
there was someone walking a baby stroller on the rough grass there going.
Yeah, that's a sketchy little area.
Yeah, I mean, walking that area is not a really good idea. The problem is that I don't even know what's happened with the setbacks along there, whether it's even still, it's feasible. There's sections.
You mean
where-
on Ascutney itself or on?
On Ascutney, not only
Yeah.
the setbacks, but the land there.
There's
is
not a
kinda
lot of.
weird. It drops off and I don't know exactly where. I think it's between Bavier and Timpson along here. It starts there's a bank
Oh,
there.
yeah, I know.
And
what
there's
you're talking about.
absolutely no physical way you could
Yeah.
put a sidewalk in.
Right
And the
about
other
here, it
side,
slopes
and the
off.
other side, that's actually, it looks flat, but it's not. It's like a steep hill. So it's like, if you were gonna put something there, you'd either have to build up on one side or
This
you'd have
is-
to cut into it on the other
I can show
side.
you what he's talking about.
You know, so I think that's why nothing's ever ended up there.
There's like a big embankment here, but, which obviously looks smaller on Google, but, I
Yeah,
mean,
you could, that's a good picture.
those can always be engineered away. I mean, you can
Well,
always
yeah, but
build
that's
up,
a lot of
but
money.
it's expensive and I don't,
But if you note, go back, turn around, you'll see on Google back here, it's saying this is Route 44. See that?
sure,
So it's not a Scutney Street,
sure.
although the sign says it's Scutney Street.
I wouldn't take Google as the be all end all, but.
Right, but somewhere right around here, and this may actually be the line right here, because that says 44, that says the Scutney Street. From, you go further down, it starts saying 44 everywhere also.
Right.
So this actually may be where the town line ends, which is right by the pumping station there.
Anyway, I see why they don't have a sidewalk segment on this stretch of Ascutney because of the right of way. I mean, it's very, setbacks are very shallow, the right of way is very narrow.
And Route 44 is narrow.
Right. But like going into these side neighborhoods, it would make sense to, especially going up the hill to Sherwin Ave, having a crosswalk inside a sidewalk to get you there at the very least, even though these are like low traffic side roads, you don't necessarily need sidewalks
Well,
on them,
the
but
next-
getting there.
There's also no sidewalks on Cherry Street in that area either.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, there's one that gets you up there, but it
Yes,
stops
Cherry Street has it up to,
to here.
what the hell is the name of the
Crystal.
cross- Crystal,
The
right.
first cross street.
And it stops there. I know, I actually have walked all of those areas, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, it's fine to have no sidewalks if it's like low traffic, you know, just residential streets, but this area sketches me out when I'm thinking about like kids going down to the pond and stuff, like the Sherwin Ave area. I'm like, someone could get hurt here.
No, I think you're right. I think the other area, I don't want to digress too much into it, but I think the other area would be nice to have a sidewalk is to keep the kids on the side of the Route 44 between the pond going down toward Knight's Funeral Home.
Oh, on the south side of the road?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then create
yeah.
another crosswalk down by Knight's Funeral Home possibly, so that people, it would stop the people from that blind corner
Mhm.
crossing. They did put a flashing light there today.
Which is great, yeah.
It is, until I came up today and there was a truck coming down the road. I hit the flashing light and he just
You're
drove
kidding.
right through.
No way.
Drove right. And then the funny thing is, right after he moved.
What did that last, like 2 weeks?
Yeah, and on the other side of the road, those cars had stopped and he realized, oh, wait, and he stops and he's like, dude, you're already like 30 yards past the crosswalk. So
That's not great.
it's okay for me because I'm being aware of it, but 6-year-olds and bicycles don't pay attention to anything. And, you know, if we could keep a lot of the kids in that traffic heading that way on that side of the
Yeah.
street, foot traffic.
Well, there's
that makes
actually, there's
sense.
a desire
There's a
path.
path,
There's a
it's already there.
desire path beaten into the grass on that
Yeah,
side where
dig
you
it
see
up
people
and
walk
take it.
anyway. But yeah, between the beach and almost to the Union Street intersection,
We don't
there's,
even have to go that far. We can
Right
put
about
it
here.
back on the other side of the street, be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not the specificity we're supposed to be doing.
I don't know, I feel like it is though,
I-
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we could list that in there, I suppose.
So there's another issue, actually, excuse me.
Sure.
I was walking down Scotty going home and e-scooter just went right on by, quiet, didn't say, excuse me, nothing.
3 kids
On the sidewalk.
going 20 miles an hour.
Yeah,
They're gonna hurt somebody.
Yep.
I've seen them getting back on the streets. The police have been notified and they're trying to deal with it, but no, they're all kids,
Yep.
you know?
Do the police want them to be on the street or do they want them to be on the sidewalk?
I can't answer that. All I know is that they
Exactly,
keep saying
that's
they have,
They probably don't want them to be out at all.
They don't have a cycling path. This is why they are using the pedestrians.
right.
Yeah.
But they're a motorized vehicle, so technically they're not supposed to be on the anyway. And kids that age shouldn't be driving 20 miles an hour because they're not responsible.
shouldn't they be required to say something coming up behind you or something?
Little horn,
Yeah, bicycle horn.
yeah.
Could be polite, but who's gonna enforce it? You know?
Yeah.
No, but I've been amazed that there's kids that are just on the sidewalk and are a group of kids and you're walking down and they won't budge. They're just like,
Right.
you gotta get out of there with. And like,
Kids, man,
kids these days,
no respect.
that's what old people sound like.
Can I change the subject?
Yeah,
Please do.
please do, James.
On the bicycle, we've got just after we discussed whether there's any budgets that have been put forward, a path is planned to connect the downtown area with Artisans Park. Has any, do we know, maybe Hayley, this is a question for you, did anything happen with that plan? And the question would be, does that mean walking on the side of Route 5 to get to Artisans Park, or is it more river railway area?
Not as far as I know, nothing happened yet. I don't know if there's anything with other committees that is going around that I'm not familiar with, but no, I'm not aware of.
Yeah, nothing's really happened with this, and I would say maybe the last 5, 6 years, there was a lot of momentum around this prior to like this plan being written, including, Bob Haid, who was a long time ZA here, so a lot of this stuff has his, handwriting all over it as it should. He was the zoning administrator, but there's been nothing on that for quite a while. Some of the obstacles, like I think maybe we talked about it a few meetings ago, were like, obviously where the path, like it couldn't go through like its ideal route. That was one of them. You're dealing with the railroad in some other cases, so just working with them to get it done. But it doesn't mean it's like no, this can't ever happen. But those are just some of the things that I think kind of threw cold water on it, at least.
Yeah.
Since this was written in here.
I can see why, because if you were trying to do an off-street path, then that requires creating a new right-of-way, getting easements from like 50 different property owners, dealing with floodplain stuff, whatever. But if you were to make an on-street path, the right-of-way is quite narrow, especially where it goes through the S-curves and stuff like that. So it's be pretty dangerous. So I see why it stalled out. I mean, that's the reason rail trails are so popular, is because if it's a defunct rail line, the right-of-way already exists and they can just go right in and do that. But
Well, Bob Haid gave me a little tour with that as part of my Bob Haid adventures, and we did a number of things together. But the concept was to try to expand some of the right-of-way following the railroad tracks. It's my understanding that a preliminary plan was put together, and he approached Amtrak with it to talk to him about it. And I think they
good luck
surmised
with
it
that.
with, what are you, crazy?
yeah,
You got trains blaring through here and you want kids and bicycles and people walking right next to railroad tracks?
Yeah.
There's got to be some sort of a fence put along this whole thing. The liability for all of this is going to be ours, not the town's. And so, no. Find another place to put it. And then the way to get the minimum distance away from the track to be able to do it, you started getting into cutting into easements and everything else. And it involved the whole golf course area. It's a great idea. It's just along the tracks wasn't the way to go. And along the river line itself is problematic for numerous other reasons. There's a farm down there. There's all kinds of things in a way that prevent it. There's a gravel pit. So there's a lot of things that are going along. And the simplest thing was to try to have some kind of walking bike path along Route 5, and that's where that was brought up about the S's, and that was the major choke point there. Because there really isn't any, once you get past Price Chopper going north, there isn't any legitimate sidewalk. There's road shoulder.
Pretty wide shoulder
But
until you get to
it's
those
wide
extremes,
enough for the shoulder to become a bike walking path. All the way up till you get to the S's, and then on the other side of that, there's some shoulder there that expands back out. But all of that is state stuff that could easily be widened potentially, except for the location right by the golf course.
I don't know about easily, yeah.
So,
No, I think we should push towards a traffic study for our streets, because the way how a lot of towns or cities solve narrow streets is that they make it one-way direction and they study the traffic circulation. And while having it one way, they can include the pedestrians, the walkability, and make some extra space for people to gather, to have certain events. So I've seen that in so many places that will encourage the walkability, the cycling, and that's a very healthy approach. So if we're able to get funding for a traffic study and for a complete street study, I think that's a good starting point. And maybe we should mention that in the town plan.
For this specifically, like a Route 5 bike path?
For the downtown areas, and they will decide exactly where to have these based on, the amount of traffic, the number of people. That there's a lot of way of doing it, but that's one way of having enough space for pedestrians, cycling, and probably maybe scooters. Why don't we encourage the smart mobility forms like scooters, e-bikes? If we have the space for it, we can cooperate with some private providers, and we do something similar like how they did that in Burlington.
I think putting something about a study for that is a good idea, because obviously, as we're talking about the issue with the powered scooters, and they're more of an issue than the e-bikes, but even the e-bikes are really, that's going to be the future. So we really should be paying attention to, how we can test things.
But the children are our future also, and we need to protect
Not if we run them over because
we need
they're
to protect them
they're
from
in the middle of the road.
the e-scooters.
Well, I think that's a very important mobility form that we need to think how to bring to the town. That's also an extra income for the town. So we don't need always to think of traditional incomes like tax rate or similar stuff just to cover our deficits. There are a lot of other options that we can improve the town's budget and the quality of life for residents. We should think of making it better for all age groups. Not all old people can drive. Not all old people can walk. So we should have a study. That's a very good starting point.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, the whole core area of town would be complete streets. So,
Yes.
you can use whatever mode you want to get around the core area of town. And, vehicle speeds are low enough, or should be low enough, that we can make that happen. There's tricky things like, narrow right of ways in places like that section of Ascutney Street is always going to be problematic.
Well,
But,
that's why I say a traffic study, that they will decide exactly which direction that street will go. It's only one way, not two ways. So you will have a place only for one car. Okay, and the rest of the street will be for other forms of mobility, including the pedestrian areas.
Oh, you're saying that's the end goal? I thought you were saying that that's how they do the traffic study is by closing it to traffic one way. But you're saying the goal would be to maybe close some streets to one-way traffic?
Yes.
Like the mile square, you're kind of, the concept would be going up State Street would be one way, and then you go to
Right.
Scutney Street one way, and then Union Street be Well, Union Street's wide enough to handle it, so you really wouldn't have to worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Union Street, you could easily have bike lanes on and.
But the problem, you'd have a number of problems doing that because first off, State Street is the access to the hospital. So I got a feeling that there's gonna be a lot of people who's gonna say, well, if you're going one way, you're only gonna be going towards the hospital. You can't come back down. And if you're doing it the other way, you got the county road traffic. So I think a study would be interesting to see what somebody would envision. How do you solve this problem? Because
Yeah, they might just tell us
And,
you're already
you know,
doing it.
once we have a comprehensive plan, we can apply for funding, and actually we know exactly what we're doing. We need the money to do that. It's not like applying or providing an incomplete application just for the sake of improving the streets without having a clear plan on what needs to be done and where.
I got an idea. Could you create maybe some verbiage for us to put into the town plan that would accomplish that? Since you're sounds like you're familiar with it, so that, you know, what you would like to see that we'd actually put into it.
Yes, so I suggested, I had this discussion with Trevor, and I suggested that we include 2 sections in the town plan. The
Right.
first one, like, we've done already some research, other committees and departments are doing research. If we can add a chapter for research and development. And the third one is a master plan that is, can I share the screen? Are you done, Martha?
My computer, I think, just died, so.
Oh, there you
Done with
Fuck your battery.
whether you want to be or not.
Yes.
There is a way you can plug it in if you felt you needed to.
Okay. So you've seen this before. I showed it to you. It has improved a lot. I've added a lot of other layers. We can use this platform to propose a master plan for what we're looking to have. And we visualize that with very nice visuals and perspectives and images and of how we're, for example, improving this street here, how we would like to see it. This is the downtown area, how we're envisioning this within the next 8 years. So we don't need to do that for the whole of the town, but we will need to have a clear traffic study on how we're circulating the cars, the people, and we don't have buses, okay? And even if we have them, it will be in certain routes, not everywhere. So we can use this one. I have it both in 2D and 3D. I'm using it for my research, but I can actually adjust that to be used in the town plan. It's heavy, it's a huge data set, so just give me a second. And we mentioned the river corridors, so let me just, this is the river corridors that the ANR and the state has until the moment, okay?
Mhm.
So exactly how much is the distance? I can generate that from this GIS, but I have no idea exactly how much, but it seems very different from one area to another according to the erosion, according to the flooding. I don't know how they actually consider that. But the idea is that we already have something to start with. If we can at least, it's very hard to have the study at the moment, but this is something that we need to consider. We can take this and each one, if you have a certain idea, you envision a certain street in a certain way, just let me know. I can work on that, visualize it, add it, and we put all our thoughts and our visions for the next 8 years on this platform, and we use it for the town plan. At the last chapter, it doesn't have to include it like in every section or to refer to it in every section, but this is our vision for the town in a visual way.
Yeah, you did show us part of it before. And the thing that's really great about this is that it has the elevation, so it gives you the true picture of the geography of what you're dealing with the flat maps just don't, you look at the flat maps, and you say, well, how come we don't put housing here?
Right,
Well, that's side of a hill.
right, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we did look at this before, and this is gonna be great. And this interactive, you're saying an interactive map would be available to be able to, for people to look at it, and they could interact with it, or ultimately?
It's not actually, I'm using it for the research, so the purpose is not interactive, but I can work in it to have a separate copy to be added on the town's website with less, let's say, data sets. Because, I'm using the data sets for my research, so it's really huge.
Right.
But anyway, if, for example, you want to know a lot of information about this parcel, for example, all you need to do is just to click on it. No, this is what I'm using for my research. So let's say this parcel, this is the zoning district rural. Okay, if I turn off the zoning overlay district, and then I click on this parcel, it should give me exactly the owner and different, not the owner in name, like different information about them.
So you're pulling stuff from the parcel database and the A&R Atlas and all that?
Yeah.
So as a sort of a conclusion on this, Haley, you're saying that if we did a traffic study or volume of traffic, that one could look at certain roads and make them one way. And when one did that, or if one did that, it could become more pedestrian, or some of that road would be a pedestrian right of way. Would that be a vision?
We don't have that traffic study. I'm not in a position to provide traffic studies. And anything that I will use here, it should not be taken seriously because I don't have the knowledge. Traffic studies are done by people who are specialized in it. But it's not the idea that we visualize the difference. We can, if you're actually referring to how exactly the direction for any street will be, yeah, we can add that. It's not a difficult thing. I can do this here, but we don't have the traffic study at the moment. My idea is like to push towards having funding to get traffic study and start to work in improving the walkability, the cycling areas, and that's the starting point because most of the roads are narrow. We cannot use the complete street in it. So the only way to get out of it and include everything in one street is to make the path only for one car, not two-way, one way.
Yeah.
And that will require a traffic study. That's what I'm saying.
So for the town plan side, what we should include is that we need to do a traffic study.
We can mention that it's one of our goals, and
Right.
Yeah, and why
For the purposes of making the town more walkable.
Better complete streets.
Better complete
Yeah.
streets, better complete options for e-bikes, and recognizing that's the future, and what can we do to accommodate those needs? Because obviously that would be the first step. So I think that's really what we need to reflect in the plan. And that covers the sidewalks, covers the whole shebang, as they say.
And people will not go quietly if we suggest making a street one way. So we need some due diligence behind that if we're going to even suggest it. I'm open-minded to it, obviously. For specific road segments, I can see the need and I can see how and why we would do it. Specifically, I'm thinking of that segment of Ascutney Street between Union and State Street, I think could absolutely be a candidate for this in the future because it is a narrow right of way and there's a lot of kids on bikes and scooters and pedestrians and the sidewalks are already very narrow. It's actually lacking sidewalks in some places. So I could totally see this for like those specific segments on like local roads, not the arterials and stuff like that.
That would also handle another real current problem that we have traffic wise is that when school lets out and school gets in, that becomes a jam.
Mhm.
And there's just, it almost gridlocks.
Mhm.
For people waiting for the kid to come out, refusing to move. And so all the other cars have to kind of get around them. And you got cars stuck on the opposite side of the street that are trying to turn to get into the parking lot. And it's just, it is a mess every single day.
Yeah, so there are huge
And
benefits.
so that street becoming a one-way street, I don't know that you'd get some resistance, but I think a lot of people would say, you know what, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, because downtown's a giant square, basically, it's not that huge of a
Right.
detour. It's like a 1-minute detour if you're driving
And
to
if you
go
still
around
had
this
State Street
block.
two-way, each way you
Right.
were coming from, you'd have a way to get to it. And
Right.
then Union Street would be two-way, so it wouldn't be that huge of an inconvenience to do that and then take some of that sidewalk area that's on the one side and make all that more functional, have a nice bike path along there and one way for the cars and traffic problem goes away. Scooters trying to kill people go away.
They're not going away.
You're not only reducing the traffic conjunctions, you're also increasing the safety, you're improving the walkability, and while improving the walkability, you start attracting more people to come and just do that walk. If we have parking issues, we'll have some certain spots for parking. We'll support businesses because we'll have more people walking in that street. So it's really, it has huge benefits. And I've seen that in so many places. That's a very good approach to use. Any business should need customers to get into, like, to improve it. So enhancing the walkability will allow more customers to be around and will bring the town or certain streets in the town to life.
Well, I mean, I can imagine just cycling to Artisan Park or Industrial Park would be just a wonderful thing to cycle down, especially if it's on the side of the river rather than Route 5. But, you know, to go to Artisan Park, have lunch and come back just sounds a nice way. Yeah, and the other option we haven't talked about, not option, but alternative, is Kennedy Pond, or is it Mill Pond? But there, you know, there's at the fairground, there's a wonderful area there for people to gather, and also there's small trails there. I passed the swimming area last weekend, and there was a tremendous amount of people there all having fun. So it's a great initiative, I think, what the town has done before I arrived, as far as making that a community area. But I think you can walk on the other side at the dam. Not sure whether there's a trail up there, and then you're into the marshy area thing, which is private, I think.
Oh, this,
This area, yeah, coming around here.
Oh, on the opposite side, yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
So, you know,
yeah, all of that is private all the way, except for the spec from Mill Pond. There is a setback on that, but
there's no restaurants around there, but we could put a food truck somewhere.
oh yeah, get a lot of food trucks.
But yeah.
And yeah, and that's what we were talking about with the sidewalks, it's maybe try to double the sidewalk by the pond area to at least to where Knight's Funeral Home is, because they're keeping kids out of crossing the road. at
some
that intersections.
modicum of safety on that stretch of
Right.
road,
You know, this stretch here would be good.
right about here.
And because it's easy enough, you know, to try to do something there, you know, it would have some challenges, but it would certainly be more feasible, I think. It is a very small path as it is now. Even if it was a smaller, not a full sidewalk along there, at least something. Anyway.
So I'd like to keep in the town plan as far as my interest is to have this sort of trails or walkways within Windsor to, you know, to wherever people can enjoy just walking out with a dog without getting run over by a cyclist, any cyclist or a car, and just enjoy. You know, we're right in the middle of beautiful countryside, which is why I moved here. kind of thing. So it's a shame that you can only get on your bicycle really and be on Route 5, which isn't very attractive. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's not very attractive.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe there could be a map showing all the non-car oriented, transportation, separate transportation map that's for bike and pedestrian facilities, and showing the gaps, and the problem areas, and identifying those as in need of a study, an engineering study or something like the State Street School.
I wonder if the Paradise Park Commission
I was
or the
gonna say
Recreation Commission has much to say about what James is talking about, because
what they do for that side, they already have a trail map, our trails,
for cycling specifically though, I mean.
no, what, oh, you're talking about for
Is that
cycling.
what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Or-
They have the
Yeah,
walking
it's
trails.
cycling and walking. I mean, down in Houston, they've done this sort of on the bios, in the middle of town, and it's very, very nice. It's taken a sort of a no-go area effectively into very open, and people are walking, people are running. They've got the bicycles, but everybody would just use the bell. Bicycle coming on your left, or and everybody. It always seemed to work. People had respect for
Shared use path kind of thing,
use,
yeah.
And that was part of the vision of the going along the side of the river.
Mhm.
And it's actually a project that I got very familiar with down in New Orleans, because my father did the river walk and the moon walk down there.
To the moonwalk?
Yeah, and the river walk right by the French Quarter, and it extends down the pier line for the piers that were removed. So what they did is it took the pedestrians away from the high traffic areas in town and moved them all to the edge of the river, which obviously, there was a lot of attractive things going on there. The aquarium got built down there, and there was just lots of things to do. And you could walk to the French Quarter and avoid a lot of the small streets and everything that was happening there. And so those kind of things could be fantastic. The thought, when Bob and I were talking about it, wouldn't that be great if you could do that along the Connecticut River, build a river walk along it? And that was the original concept that started to try to do something like that. And then it ran into a lot of different issues. You went to the industrial area, the flood zone area, the fact that putting any kind of infrastructure along there would be an issue, and it wouldn't be similar because you couldn't have any. I mean, if you had little restaurants and shops and little things like that, as you walk down at things to do too, that would make a lot of sense. And the idea was that you could have a bike shop down there. You'd eventually end up down by the canoes and by the industrial park. And it actually would be a fantastic thing if we could figure out a way to do it. But there's a lot of state issues that are coming along there. And now we know that whole area has kind of become under the state control. So I don't know what we could actually do.
There's a lot of obstacles to doing something like that, but it does make me think that, one thing that has changed since the 2019 plan is the railroad recreation project down there. So there's some momentum and some, something to draw people into that area of town that is productive and for the public.
Yep.
And so we could expand on that in some way.
Yeah, and I don't think the problem was that there was never any funds or anything to be able to do a real feasibility study to see what you could do and what kind of support you could generate by trying to do something to create that connection along the Connecticut River to the downtown, up to the industrial park area and everything in between. That would open up a lot of opportunities, for business from certain segments of it to whatever, you wanted to do with it. But it would be an attraction unto itself.
I think like the Mount Ascutney Trail around the mountain, which would also be a fantastic economic attraction. You run into those same issues with having to get right away from a lot of different people, which is not, impossible. There's the Kingdom Trails, and there's like 50 different right of ways they had to get to do that. So
one thing when we had the first meeting on this, I mentioned how do we measure how successful was the previous plan. So here's an example, this path is planned between the downtown Hartison. There was nothing in the recommendation to move that forward. So this was just a floating
One sentence, yeah. We should do this anyway.
It's
Yeah.
not right out here.
So something on I guess the topic I've kind of brought up is something that interests me. A lot of what we discussed elsewhere, I see as more sort of maintenance and operations of running the town, as far as the roads, the drainage, all has to be done. But it's not visionary kind of
No.
thing as far as how can we make Windsor a nicer place to, on a recreational basis.
Mhm.
So maybe if this is something I'd like, on this sort of these last couple of paragraphs here, would be that we put this in as, that we want to look at this in the recommendation. And then somehow we put a small group together. I don't know how you do that, but let's get some volunteers from the town that would be tasked, purely, voluntary and have a look at these areas and see if there's a way. Because, looking at the Haley's map there, you can see a lot of space between bricks and mortar and the Connecticut River. And maybe we can't use it, but maybe we can. I don't know. And looking down on Kennedy Pond, I know on that lower side, on the between the plateau area and the water, there are trails there, but they're private. But at some point, somebody put a trail all the way, from where I-91 crosses 44 or 44 crosses that, all the way along there. But they're in individual people's property. But they're trails. That they could be, and some where I've got some land, it's under the Upper Valley Land Trust, but which means that people are allowed to go onto a trail, providing that they don't have motorbikes and they're not hunting, but they are allowed to go on if they're respected. So that we could look at Upper Valley Land Trust as an example to see, is this something we can piece together? Because I think I read somewhere that at some point there was a planned development on the back of Mill Pond on the side of the plateau. There's a long skinny area.
Yes.
I think we talked about that before.
Yeah. Yes.
So this condo
There
thing
was
was
a condo-
originally
there was a
supposed
condo
to
development
extend.
that got started.
Yeah.
And
That's
then it was intended to go further, but it went bankrupt.
Right.
The whole thing went bankrupt. And the condos, wish I had the cash at the time, but they went for very, very cheap. And so, but yes, I mean, the concept of what they were trying to do there, I think was good. I don't really know, because I wasn't paying attention to that when it was first being built. I know that there was certainly the big concern is that when you are on Mill Pond or out on the other side, we didn't want to see these big condo units when you're looking out across, so that's where maintaining the tree line along there was very important.
Yeah.
So even Google Maps even has the little spur of your trail
Right.
there, I think. That's interesting.
But I think, here's a suggestion, should we recommend that the town forms you're saying get a group of people to try to do this, why don't we see if we can create an advisory committee for the select board? Recommend they do that, because this isn't a one-time deal. This is a fairly good-sized project that would take some time to do,
Well,
certainly.
I'll just say I'm always in favor of using existing.
I am
boards
too.
if
I'm trying to
possible,
think
rather
what
than
we
creating a new
have.
one.
Conservation
Well,
committee
recreation,
never got
conser-
going, so,
Oh. Okay, well, the Recreation Committee or even WICS, maybe? I don't know. Did I say WICS? I meant WIC.
well,
But that's the thing, like we talked about last week in the goals, policies and recommendations, like these are all pretty vague and they don't have like a who, what, when, where, why.
yes.
So we can,
Or how.
and since it's just the plan is just advisory anyway, so we can delegate people. We can say the Recreation Committee or whoever should explore easements to have new trails around the Mill Pond, or explore a bike path along the Connecticut. You know,
And we have that kind of initiatives going right now, but people taking up something and saying, I think it would be neat if we had some really nice artwork throughout the town. And maybe that ugly fence that's going on, we do something with it. And Mike could speak to that because he did last night, that town people volunteered on their own.
Being and delegating to it. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to not, I think sometimes creating new committees just, I don't know. The people that are already probably serving on multiple committees, that like scares them a little bit that they'll have to be on a new committee sometimes. So speaking from experience.
Right, and the problem is getting more people to volunteer to actually do these things is the biggest issue for everybody.
Yeah. But I think to be like overly specific in the document, you can basically write something in there that would say that like through appropriate channels or whatever, I think
leave it a little
write
open-ended.
It will be delegated appropriately to like, for the accountability piece that James spoke to, right? Not just a bike path, end of story.
a bike path where and how and.
It'd be nice to have bike paths. Yes.
And maybe select board with you and
You personally.
well, the planning.
I'm not doing our planning.
The planning commission, but look to see what, on this topic, where does it make sense to put it?
Mhm.
Where will it get the most attention and how can we populate that? Because I'd say every other person with a dog might like to be on it. As an example, it's a nice place to walk your dog. And if you've got some young children, you might like a place where the kids can cycle and enjoy a trail without getting hassled by cars.
As long as we're, sorry.
That's it, really.
But I mean, as long as we're just spitballing here and throwing out ideas, I mean, I wonder if there's any way for us to graft off of the huge growth of mountain biking and how that has exploded, especially at Mount Escutney. And I don't know that any of the Paradise Park trails are explicitly or not explicitly allow bicycles, but exploring maybe having mountain bike trails in Paradise Park or somewhere else that has some decent terrain in town to attract people.
I think currently the biggest fear is the e-mountain bikes where they come blasting on those things can get up to 30 miles an hour. And, there's certain people who have propensity for getting on the trail thinking they're actually in a dirt bike race. So that I understand from where you're coming from. I'm going to flip the coin and say, okay, from the town side, there's liability issues too. You have people walking the dogs, people biking, and kids all together. Some dogs get irrational from time to time, and then they're supposedly the dog owner is supposed to take care of that, but the dog owner can't, and an incident happens. And if it's on town's property, then the town could be liable. But the worst part is if we're putting this trail through your property, for example, and something happens, the lawyers just got to find somebody to sue. So maybe they'd rather take your house away from you for letting somebody walk to your property. So
I think we're thinking 5 steps ahead right now.
No, but that's what a town manager and others on it, that's what a town manager is going to do. They're going to say these great ideas, but how do we make sure that it also doesn't turn into a liability?
I don't know that anyone is that terribly risk averse here that they don't want to do something good because something bad. People are walking a lot of dogs on a lot of trails in this state, and whoever owns the land is not too worried about it. State, city, town.
Well, I know they're not, but I'm just saying if you're trying to complete a trail and you have somebody who does, and you go up to one point and you can't get past it. I mean, this has been a big discussion with snowmobile trails. That's the reason why a lot of property owners don't want snowmobile trails going through there, because some people have been killed on the trails, and there's got to be somebody else's fault besides the idiot going too fast on the trail and killing themselves. So.
Well, and just nuisance stuff is more what I've read about that, like leaving beer cans and
there's a lot of that
blasting Leonard Skinner as you go through the property,
Is Leonard Skinner?
I don't know.
On a more positive side of this, my brother lives in Scotland in the Borders area, and a small town, maybe half the size of Windsor, place called Innerleithen, and that is now one of the centres of Europe for mountain biking, and it's come from nowhere. Now, sort of the bed and breakfasts, the restaurants, the one hotel is just packed all the time, and at weekends, there's a, a lot of people coming, but, they're on specific trails
Right,
Yeah.
because it's gone past just having a little pedal.
right.
It's now sort of, here's your, I guess, like your ski
Right.
runs, this is your different coloured ones for whatever. So it is policed in some way. I have no idea about insurance and whatever, but it works. You don't go on certain trails on a Saturday afternoon if there's a race on, that kind of.
Right.
But,
I mean, it's growing explosively, and it's big. It's big in Woodstock. It's big in Brownsville. I mean, it's the ski resorts do it in the summer. It would be nice from a tourism perspective, and also just like, general raising the profile of Windsor and all that stuff to
And
capitalize
that's
on
part
that.
of what needs to be, and again, this goes back when we were talking about writing the vision first, and why I said I don't think we should. I think this is a great part. When we're looking at opportunities for economic growth and expanding interest in Windsor beyond where we are today, we need to narrow it down to a few niches that are feasible for us to work with. And this could very well be one of the ones saying that, hey, come to Windsor, because we're going to offer these opportunities for people to do that. And that would build the small businesses, the service to people that come. And they don't have to just be biking trails, because in the wintertime, cross-country skiing
Sure.
would be on it too. So it would actually be a 4-season deal. And so I think that when we're talking about, I think that's more of something we should really be considering as maybe a way to help grow Windsor at the same time. So I think what we have to figure out is how do we actually get it in the town plan with some kind of an action, like to see if we can get it to happen.
Yep.
They could easily go nowhere. I mean, we could tell the Paradise Park, what about mountain bike trails in Paradise Park? They'd be like, absolutely not. Never. But,
Yeah, but that's
maybe-
actually owned by the town, so they can say so much
Sure.
so far, and then select board can say, no.
Maybe a recommendation would be the recommendation sort of becomes a bit of an action that we need to put in a small team somewhere to find where they should be reported into.
I think
Wick is a good place for that.
that was
That's
the idea from how I suggested we structure each chapter. So we have the current conditions, we have our vision and objectives, and how to implement that is the following section. Which policies do we have, and what is the action frame that we're trying to follow? Even if we're unable to do that within the next 8 years, we have this vision, we have the policy, and we have this time frame or the action framework. And after that, we show that with visuals and maps, and how this is aligned with this is very important, how this is aligned with the state statutes, requirements, and regionally, because this is what actually qualifies us for a lot of grants, and without grants we cannot go anywhere. So if we structure that, we will have a better understanding on whether anything that we're proposing is possible or not. So your comment, James, is very valid. This was, I thought that came to my mind from the beginning. So I don't know if you agree to follow this structure or not. We have the text, we just need to restructure that for each chapter. And we see which policies we have and what's our action plan for implementation.
Yeah, and my thought was just that it would be good to get some public input and get the survey out and get some feedback before you go too deep into the vision. I mean, if you have enough time, you can do all that first, get your vision in place, and then start making these changes. But
I don't the broad vision. For example, we spoke about the transportations. We all agreed that we need to have a sort of a complete streets in the town. We need to enhance the walkability. So this vision is specific for this chapter in a realistic way. So how we're improving these current conditions, what is our vision to improve the quality of services, life,
Economic development.
we could think of.
Yeah.
That's the vision I'm referring to, not the overall vision of how we see like the marketing piece of it.
Right. I guess I just think it would be good to have some feedback that's supportive, so it's not just this group. You know, you've
No, I
got,
agree. I think we need to get it to a point where people could get the gist of where we're going and then get some specific questions to try to generate feedback based on that.
so some of the survey questions could be, you know, about this path, maybe between Artisans Park and the downtown, or mountain bike trails. Do you want to have them in Paradise Park? Or maybe you don't ask that question if the commission says no.
I'm a little worried about asking questions that we know are just gonna agitate certain like, I wouldn't have a question in there that's like, can we make a Scotney Street one way? Like, that's just gonna agitate people.
You know, the other day I was walking in the area. There is a very nice park here, and the recreational committee here in the city, they have a survey. They provided a code exactly like what you suggested earlier, and it's an open question. So, do you have any suggestions? Do you see any improvement areas? Do you identify any issues? Give some open questions. I've listed some of it in the email I sent you. I scanned and I went there. It was very easy. It was very direct, and people just need to express their thoughts. We don't have specific questions. We need to know exactly how they are envisioning the map, what issues they are experiencing, what things they want us to focus on to improve. So, like broad questions like this, just to gain feedback in general.
Who drew up the sample? Was it you or Martha who drew up the sample questions? I like the sample questions.
I haven't seen them, so
Well,
me.
I sent, it was like 1 hour before.
Email.
I think it's these.
Oh, it's from 5:30. Yeah.
Like 5:20, yeah.
Or is it 5:20?
Yeah.
I mean, I like the first three more than the last two, but. Because
I mean, these are examples. Like if we follow this approach, and I agree with you, we should not ask specific questions on like we transfer this to that, or like we need exactly to know what they are thinking of, how they see the town, what do they want us to focus on or improve. And we take it from there.
Yeah.
What
I
is
think
your commitment to the town?
the first three are great. Like 4 is the type of thing that I don't necessarily think we get anything out of, because all of those things are important. All of them are required elements of the town plan, and like, which ones should we prioritize? Like, I don't
Yes.
know, like,
Yeah, that's
What we gain by
what is the point of that? But the first three are really good. So we can use that as a starting point, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, for a survey, like a survey that you're going to put on SurveyMonkey, you probably do want to be very specific and gauge, you know, like how much they agree or disagree with a certain statement or something broad. And this is harder to do on a SurveyMonkey type of survey.
Yeah.
This would be, you'd probably need some other type of format.
Right,
Um,
we can actually talk about that, because
Yeah.
this is something that there are a lot of other options we could use to implement it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Because the website that I did build is very, very flexible. They have all kinds of survey options that they're a fee, but you know, so is SurveyMonkey, that we'd have to make a determination if we liked how it worked and then plug it in the website, generate a QR code, and we're off. So, but the overlying question is how do people respond, and do they want to respond to creating a narrative as opposed to respond to having guided questions? Sometimes guided questions become a problem because whether we realize it or not, or the writer of them, it's does just that. It guides people to a conclusion. So that becomes difficult too. Like the town survey, a lot of times the questions are asked in such a way that they were trying to get an open-ended answer, but it really wasn't. They were trying to get an
We would ask them
agreement.
like that for sure.
What's that?
We would not ask them like that for sure.
No, because yeah, and that's just an example. I mean, that really didn't return any good information. So, and I think we're at that point, especially at the next meeting, we should figure that where we want to go with it, but we need to nail down the questions, but we also need to determine where you're talking about having a survey basically just around the transportation issue itself is the first one to do.
No, I was just thinking,
Or-
as I was working on it, some things were occurring to me
We're
that
gonna
would be
combine
questions.
these few chapters together and then survey for that and then revisit those chapters, was the thought, or?
I didn't know. I thought we were going to brainstorm. The next thing on the agenda was just to brainstorm questions, and I didn't know if you wanted to
No,
go with like
I'm just not sure what we're asking.
a few questions on every topic.
I think multiple surveys is gonna be like tough, probably not where we should spend our time, frankly. Which is so many months to do this all, but,
Yeah,
and I think I think you can ask some specific questions, but I think these are broad, obviously, as well, too. Yeah, I just think it's gonna be very difficult to circulate, get answers back, synthesize results more than a few times. That's, I guess, just my.
Yeah, I think one survey with a mix of different types of questions, and we have room for open-ended answers if people want it, but they're optional. And like you were saying, we can do like the slider thing of how much is X important to you, and hopefully have them be specific enough that we get something valuable out of that, and not just, I like a clean environment. Yes, we
right,
should have more
right.
housing.
Yeah, something that everyone's going to say yes to is not worth asking. But
Yeah, I think we should avoid the obvious ones and get to the nitty gritty of what, I think the biggest problem that we're gonna have is coming up with what Windsor should be 8 to 20 years from now. Because what Windsor is and what Windsor's was is nowhere near or has any chance of success for what things are gonna be in that period if we don't have a clear plan and direction to get there. And we haven't. I mean, right now, I don't think anybody can tell you, well, where do you think Windsor's growing? What's happening with Windsor? What direction are we going to? Who are we trying to attract to increase Windsor? Who is, if we're marketing, who is the target market for Windsor? If we're gonna do that, okay? And right now, the answer is, we don't know. Because we don't have a target market. Are we looking to, as was discussed about the water and sewer department, how do we control those bills? Well, it'd be nice to have some more industry that needs water, a good high quality water source like Windsor has, spring water that's available in the town. That's why you have a distiller and a brewer here, because that kind of water is prized for that. And that's why they're here. Now, and the good thing about that is they don't use the sewer system, which is our big expense. Water is easy, just send them a pipe, it's already there. And then bill them for it.
Are they not connected to the sewer then?
They're connected, but they don't have any sewage. Everything that comes out, all the liquid that comes out.
Oh, I see.
It becomes a beer, or it becomes a
yeah,
whiskey,
sure,
or it becomes
sure.
something else. And then what's left over becomes fertilizer. So, those
Right.
kind of businesses are absolutely the perfect thing for water sewer support in the town, because it's the minimum expense of the town with the maximum benefit. So, but those are the growth areas. Are we going to take the Artisan Park theme, the distiller and that kind of business? Is that really where we think we could try to expand more? And if so, do we look to try to envision making the downtown more like a Church Street kind of atmosphere, to where you'd have small businesses, or maybe even have small breweries on Main Street even? I mean, brew pubs, that kind of thing.
That's a tough question. Then we're at 8:05, so I mean, I would suggest we wrap it up soon. But
Right.
that is a tough question that we should talk about, definitely for land use, especially as like we can talk about downtown redevelopment and making downtown work and trying to bring people back there and businesses back there and attract people there. But at the same time, there's this other location totally outside of downtown that works
Right.
and is doing that right now. So do we want to throw more attention and resources and future investment at that, or do we want to
And
further divide the
And therein
attention
lies the
there?
question. The
And
problem is
so,
that-
Provide that in the master plan. If we envision that area in a certain way, we can it's just a master plan that reflects a vision that could happen or not. We can just present it in that way. But before I forget, I remember, Cliff, that you suggested a very beautiful idea when we first kicked off this town plan project. It was that you wanted to have the kids to draw how they envision the plan, the town plan, and we have these drawings inside the town plan scanned. So maybe schools are coming. This is also a different outreach, but for a different age group. I would love to
that's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
have that idea.
They'll draw like a dragon destroying Windsor.
Godzilla,
Yeah, Godzilla.
On a sidewalk full of scooters.
Yeah,
Bodies all splattered all over.
Scooters as far as the eye can see.
So and I think Harry's right. We got to come to a conclusion at this point.
Just before we conclude, can I just ask one thing? Would this chapter, transportation, be a place for like the boat access discussion on this side of the river, or would that be somewhere else?
more, I
For the
think,
Connecticut.
currently in recreation.
In recreation, that's right.
Well, there's not a separate recreation chapter,
Okay.
but maybe it's in.
I just didn't want to miss a moment
Yeah.
to like, for sure, get
Yeah.
that more pronounced somewhere.
It's
Yeah.
not a mobility form in the town, so we cannot include it in the transportation.
Right.
Probably,
We don't talk about boats.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta go on the other side of the river to do it.
Yeah, maybe that's a big opportunity for us.
Yeah.
Would say it is.
We use the brown fields for like a parking area for that.
Sure.
Can't do much else with it, so
Yeah.
especially if it's in the floodway, you know.
That's another thing to our master.
Could be a great revenue source for the fire and rescue department, whereas people scream down the Connecticut River and
Now
hit
you're-
sandbars.
Now you're thinking outside the box. There he is. There he is. Yeah. Jeez.
I did see in the Front Porch Forum that the select board is doing a survey. Are you guys kind of,
Yeah, their survey, they are asking, kind of like more along the lines of satisfaction of current services, town services is what they're focusing on. And trying to get a sense of what people feel they want more or less of, or understanding. They're trying to also get people to understand and get feedback for them for, you know, everybody says the taxes are too high because the taxes are very high in Vermont, no matter where you go. And well, they're high in New England, where no matter where you go. So they're trying to get a gist of what people feel they would like more of, and see how the town can really affect them from a day-to-day side. That's pretty much what they're looking at, and then trying to gather information that's going to help the next budget committee cycle.
short term, not long?
Right, yeah, to look at that. They're not really asking, at least I don't think they're asking any questions in the vision side, but it would be good if they were, that we got any feedback from that. They're not doing it real scientific, they're doing it as just sort of like meet your select board member and chat about things.
We should, yeah, it's a good approach though. I mean, we talked about doing similar stuff, not the same questions, but being out, whether it's Price Chopper or where else, like being out.
And that's how I see it being done. That's it.
No, yeah, we should, yeah.
Be there, I'll be there with my laptop, QR code, if you're going, hey, you got time, here's the website, here,
Yeah.
take survey.
Yeah, I think their approach is a good one, yeah, just talking to people
Right.
face to face, obviously.
And I envision that's the only way we're going to get a serious response, if we're going to do it by just putting it in the town website and a town newsletter. Well, if we got 200 responses for everything, I'd be shocked. So we're not gonna get them that
If we
way.
got 20 responses for the, doesn't mean we shouldn't do it.
Depends where we
I'm
put
not,
it.
I think it should be there, but I think we need to be in the public. And and that's gonna raise awareness for our public hearings at the same time, that, oh, you guys are working on a town plan? Had no idea, because there's no newspaper, nobody knows what's going on in town, except for neighbors talking to neighbors, otherwise you have no idea.
Much more inclined to engage that way than fill out a survey. I mean, who wants to do that, honestly?
Yeah. And that's where I was saying we should have some of the surveys kind of printed, because that's a way for us as commission members to meet the public and actually, without them even knowing what's going on, ask them questions and write their answers down.
Maybe we should have a paid focus group. We'll use some money out of the MPG and do one of those paid focus groups where they serve you dinner and give you a $50 gift card to get your opinion. I'm joking, but we could actually do that.
Yeah, okay, Harry.
Harry's hungry.
Yeah, yes.
The problem is, the question is, because we're not trustworthy according to the public, we'd probably end up taking all the $50 gift certificates and, take the survey ourselves. So, look, I got the gift certificate.
So, question, would you be interested in like focusing on a certain age group, like the school, different stages of school? That's the new generation.
I mean, a cross section would be nice.
I think we're really, sure. I think I've been trying, and I've been talking with Mary, trying to figure out for the select board and for us, a way to try to get to the core population of the future of the town, which is basically, millennials and Gen Z and whatever in that area, that the ones that spend their days dealing with their toddlers and their kids and, practice and basketball and all the other
they don't get
things.
out
And
much.
the last thing in their mind has to do with
Yeah.
town business,
Right.
even the town budgets or anything else. But they're the core ones that are affected by this more than anybody else. And they usually have the smallest say. And in all of the meetings and hearings and everything, you look at the age group of the people that show up and they're all 50 plus for the majority of it. And so you're really not getting a sense of the people who everything we're working on are gonna affect in their real lives. And we need to find them.
I think if we need to hear something different, a real vision, we need to reach out to the younger ones. So, and it will be very easy for us to get responses. It will be distributed into different classes. And for younger ones, we just use the idea that you suggested from the beginning, paintings, and we try to translate that. We talk to them, and I'm happy to initiate that and reach out to the school once we have. But we will need now to focus on which questions to direct to them, because, for example, a high schooler now, in 8 years, he will be the next productive person in the town. So
Yep.
he will be done with the university, and if the town is not as he wants it to be, he will not live here. And we want to target younger generations and keep them in the town.
And that's why we need places for e-scooters.
That's
We
true.
don't accommodate e-scooters, they'll go somewhere that does.
Okay, so instead of doing a survey, should we create a video game that if they, as they
Navigate the
navigate
e-scooter
and
down
answer
the
the questions,
sidewalks.
a role-playing kind of game? That might work.
Maybe contact the school and see if they can have a teacher that's looking at the 11th, 12th grade and have them do a little bit of a project on
Sure.
have the kids as a part of whatever topic it is.
And I think that's what
effectively
Holly was
have
talking
them-
about, yeah.
One way of doing it. Another easier way is to provide, if we have structured or closed answers survey, we could provide visuals for how it could look like if we're proposing a certain approach. We could keep it open for them to hear how they envision the town, how they envision different areas. And it will not harm to have the harder questions for the other age groups and post them anywhere at Price Chopper. If they want to fill it out, they have their questions. But let's focus mainly on the younger generations.
I mean, I was coming to, if the teacher sort of gave them some homework, how do you see Windsor in 20 years' time? 200 words or 1,000 words or whatever for part of social studies or.
They could draw a Pictionary thing, that'd be fun.
Where they're like.
We will read
Draw a
it.
picture of where you.
I'm not going to do the analysis for that. I will not read essays. So if you volunteer.
I guess the kids won't be able to write anything without AI now.
Okay, well, I think we have a good start on it. I think what we need to do is in the next 2 weeks, rather than waiting till 2 days before the meeting, we should probably try to stay in better communication with each other and try to suss out some of these ideas to become things that could be actionable. Such as we all have concepts around the survey side. There's some good starting points here. We should go from there. From the transportation side, to finish that up, I think we need to get the information we're asking that's kind of missing. If you could send out something that gives us direction as to what we need to wrap that up with and put it in the right direction, that'd be great. And then we'll go from I'm going to leave that to Martha to do, because you're the one that's the deepest into it and probably could guide us best what information we need back for the next meeting.
Yeah, did we give you something useful out of all these kind of brain dumps that we just did?
Maybe too much, you know.
You have to rewatch the meeting 8 times.
I mean, for some of the just basic informational stuff, I can probably reach out to Trevor or Ernie is the highway guy.
Yeah,
Or Mike,
Or-
he's the water sewer.
Mike's water on.
I know Mike.
Yeah, he can put you top.
Yeah.
I can't find Ernie's contact info anywhere.
There's no highway department section on the town website, where they, or DPW.
There isn't, because that was Tom was the head of that.
Trevor could put you in touch.
So,
Yeah.
and Tom,
Yeah.
kind of like every time any questions are asked, it's like, talk to Tom, talk to Tom, talk to Tom. And, that was that kind of an issue, because they're even in budget committee time and everything else, the only persons that were there to talk was Tom. And there had been a sense, especially the last few years, because of things that have been happening with it, it's like, we'd really like to hear about how the people who use the trucks and equipment feel about what they're dealing with and all of that, because it's easy for Tom to just say, well, just make it work, right? He's the boss and send it down the line. That's what bosses do. But if you wanted to get a real understanding of what was going on, we weren't getting it. It was, and Tom made it clear, it was him. This was me, this is my job. You don't need to deal with it. You don't like the way I do my job, you can always replace me. That has been the answer the past few years. Hate to say that in public, but it's true. And he's also said it himself in select board meetings. And so, yeah, I think we need to get a hold of, Mike has Ernie's cell phone number, I think. I think they're directly in touch. So if you wanted to reach out to him, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
He'd kind of expect it, because I talked to him about some stuff today. So
Yeah.
he might be able to get you in touch with him. And that'd be great if you could do that and get some direct feedback, or if you could join us at the next meeting, that'd be good too. But
Yeah, and I'm gonna be needing feedback on water and sewer too from Mike anyway, so.
right, and I talked to him about that today. He's more than happy to come and sit down and talk. And I said we would give him some specific things we were looking for prior to coming in. But we're not there at that part yet. Yeah, so.
Okay, well, I'll put together, I'll make some changes and I'll put together some questions of maybe what I still need to know.
Yeah, and Hallie, jump right in and send us some emails too for trying, we'll make a chain between all of us, and let's try to narrow down that before we get to the next meeting of what we want for the survey questions related to transportation and the parts that we are now, so that when we're ready to do the big survey, we'll have all the things. James, it'd be great to get formulate some questions about the trails or that kind of thing.
Yep.
And let's all of us jump in here. That's the only way we're going to tackle it, is a bite at a time.
Yeah, and so if there's certain specific questions, like there's this thing about the smart code and, I don't know if that's something that it's recommendation number 11. I mean, it's
I don't know what the hell that is.
right, yeah. So, I mean, first of all, it's very big. Amend the highway standards and the subdivision road standards to be more like the smart code.
Yeah, I don't really like, I mean, as long as we're talking about this, I really don't like any of the goals, recommendations, or policies that are just like, we should follow the law. It's like, yeah, we don't need to say that.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So if you have feedback on that stuff, just feel free to just send me an email or something.
Okay.
I mean, Cliff, you emailed me today. That was very helpful. I appreciate that.
No finance.
Hold the plan.
I moved to adjourn. I know it doesn't work that way.
Second.
Okay, I think we have a game plan of where we want to go. So, is there any other business?
I'll miss the next meeting, I already told you.
Right.
I can be responsive to email, I just will not be
Ooh,
in
is
the
the,
country.
is the next meeting August 13th?
Yes.
I might have a conflict that night as well.
Well, then we might not have a meeting. We won't have. a
I
quorum.
tentatively have a conflict that night, but who knows? It's 4 weeks away.
Okay. I mean, the only way, well, we can discuss it, figure it out. We're going to continue to move forward as if we're going to be okay. I'd hate to not have you here for it, though. And let's just see where we end up going. And one of the things we can do is we need to shift the date. We have time to cancel that, call a special meeting and to shift the date if we needed to. Hate doing that, but if we needed to, we could do that.
I mean, now that we're at 2 meetings a month, I don't think we need to like try too hard not to just wait till the next one.
Yeah, well, we do, but if we're.
We shouldn't be dropping meetings all the
If we're
time.
trying to schedule people to come in to talk with us, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
We really can't do that.
Right,
So,
right.
Um,
But you also don't need a quorum if you're just having people come in. If you're not taking any action, you don't need a quorum.
that's an
You can't approve the minutes, but you can still have a business meeting.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure that out. Let's just see if we have the problem. If your issue does come up to where it's immovable and you can't do it, then the only other thing is we'd have to have a solid commitment from Brendan to be here.
Right, 3 is a quorum, so.
Right.
Brandon is here. You mean in person?
Well, no, is he online? I didn't.
He
even
wouldn't
see
have to be here in person to have quorum next time.
him. See, it doesn't show me who's online. I don't even know. if
Yeah, we
he-
kind of closed that window, but he is up there.
And
I don't know if you had any questions.
Brandon?
Called out at the end of the meeting in overtime.
Okay. I think at this point, no public comments. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting at about 8:25, I think is what it says.
Here, here.
Thank you.